the Irish American Centres and Festival Award 2018 goes to Minnesota's Celtic Junction Centre and Owen Mckiernan Library.
This is your Irish diary.
You are looking at one of the oldest associations with mankind, something that goes back into the dim, dim past. It's interesting, isn't it, that something as simple as this, a piece of reed made of straw, should have such an ancient history in man's experience.
I'm Jim Tarbox, a member of the board of directors here at Celtic Junction Arts Center, and I'm also the drum major of the St. Paul's Brian Boru Irish Pipe Band. So you might recognize me there as the guy with the big hat and the big stick. We're here and we're happy to have you join us at Celtic Junction's Fall Fundraiser. Hope you're able to make a contribution of some kind. You know, the Junction provides both educational opportunities and entertainment. A lot of dances and music things going on here. We've hosted both national and local groups. And those presentations are available only because of your kind generosity. And that's the point of our fundraiser here. I'm here today with Brian Miller, well-known member of the local Irish music community who wears a number of hats here at the Junction. Perhaps most importantly, as director of the Owen Mckiernan Library and Reading Room. So Brian, welcome. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be the director, and tell us a bit about the library too.
Thanks, Jim. So Owen Mckiernan was, he worked at St. Thomas, came here in the early 60s and was here for really most of his life. And he was a huge figure in Irish studies and in Irish America, and had many connections directly to Ireland. And so he's really, he's a big name for people that are interested in Irish culture and Irish music and Irish literature and poetry. And he lived right here in the Twin Cities. So he kept his own library. He also distributed books around the United States and traveled all around the world, promoting this idea of sort of the real Ireland, Ireland that was more than just green beer on St. Patrick's Day. So when he passed away in the early 2000s, he left this huge library to his family. Some of them are books that he was maybe writing a review of or distributing through his through Irish Books and Media, his book distribution company, or they were just books that he had and he used in his teaching. But they were looking for a place for the books to go, and they were offered to Cormac and Natalie before there was a Celtic Junction Arts Center, and they said yes. And I had happened to just finish getting my library, my Master's of Library and Information Studies degree, and I was looking to work. I had this I guess, pipe dream that I would do something that had to do with the music that I love, with Irish music. And they said, hey, you can do that right here, right down the street from your house. So we really, when the nonprofit was formed in the fall of 2016, we had our first fundraiser, and it was really to raise money to build this room. So to put in the bookshelves, and we had Owen's books all in boxes, and I set to work with a group of volunteers cataloging kind of what ended up being 2,000 or 3,000 books, somewhere in there was, and then we've grown from there.
Tell us a bit about how you think the library affects the community. What kind of impact does it have?
Well, we are still a fledgling library in terms of our actual physical collection. So I think the real potential of this room, and of the books in the room and the CDs and some of those physical resources is still maybe in the future, especially right now when everything's locked down and nobody's coming in here. But the room itself has had a big impact on this building and the Celtic Junction community, because it's a quiet place. You can come, you can do homework. It's the home of our Irish College class series happens in here, and it's the most beautiful space in the building. It's been getting used a lot for that, and we have a small group of researchers that have come in and actually done quite a bit of research in here. So one thing that we're doing with the physical collection is trying to find our niche, right? Because St. Thomas is down the road, and they have a Irish Studies collection of books. So some of these resources that we have are also available there, but we're trying to be a library for the community. And a university library can feel sort of intimidating or off limits maybe to a community, whereas I want this library to be the community's library. You know, the library you'd go to if you wanted to like look up a new song that you wanted to learn, or if you've always meant to read James Joyce but you never got around to it. This is a place where you could go and explore these kind of things and enrich your experience of Irish culture.
So when you are open, the library is open to the public, though, is that right?
It is, yeah. We have relatively limited hours just because at the moment this is a shared space with the Irish College. So the building is also quite quiet during the day, and we haven't had the budget to have like the building open all the time, right? So it's open in the evening, and then the classes come. So we're open for 2 hours typically, 4:30 to 6:30, or 4 to 6, and then it turns over to the Irish College after that. So part of what this whole fundraiser is having a new dedicated space for those classes, so the library actually can have a little bit more open hours in the evening and be just specifically available as a resource and not just as a beautiful space.
Hi, my name is Owen Mckiernan, and I'm here to tell you how wonderful the Owen Mckiernan Library is at the Celtic Junction. From history to literature to genealogy to dictionaries of the Irish language, the Valdreha, O'Donnell. The Owen Mckiernan Library at the Celtic Junction has something for every Irish enthusiast. It's a truly beautiful place with several fine wooden study tables in the center, each lit by a classic green banker's lamp, surrounded by thousands of painstakingly cataloged books on elegant cherry shelving. Books abound here, and you may find yourself one afternoon gathered for a small class on poetry, or just whiling away a rainy day with a friend as you both work on genealogical research. I say these things not because the library was named after my scholar father, Owen Mckiernan, but because the library is truly a magical place. Please help us further the work of the Celtic Junction. Thank you.
Diarit is Mishakat Daly, Falchigo Lowerlin, Owen Mckiernan, Hello, I'm Kate Daly. Welcome to the Owen Mckiernan Library. I started as a volunteer cataloging new acquisitions for the library several years ago. I enjoyed the process of learning about Ireland through the titles and subject matter of these books. My knowledge was more tourist and travel-oriented, somewhat filled with stereotypes. Over time, I enrolled in classes offered by the Irish College of Minnesota, located in the Celtic Junction Art Center held in the library. These classes included Irish language, poetry, literature, oral traditions, and genealogy. I sought out books in the library with similar subjects, academic as well as personal. For me, with a background in anthropology, I was interested in Irish culture and the arts, traditional and contemporary dress, and its reflection of Irish culture. And though I'm still interested in travel and tourism in Ireland, my understanding of Irish history, literature, language, politics, geography, and culture has broadened. And isn't that the purpose of a library? To increase an interest, understanding, and appreciation in a community? In the interim, the library has been my home away from home. I've read to preschoolers, suggested resources to students researching a topic, provided tours for individuals and groups, discussed Irish subjects with adults, and it's me who's been enriched by these interactions. I hope you'll join us soon. Gurmagat, thank you.
Dear thoughts are in my mind, and my soul soars enchanted as I hear the sweet lark sing in the clear air of the day. For a tender beaming smile to my hope has been granted, and tomorrow she shall hear all my fond heart would say. I shall tell her all my love, all my soul's adoration, and I think that she shall hear and will not say me nay. For it's this that brings my soul all its joyous elation, as I hear the sweet lark sing in the clear air of the day. What but love sets the heart aglow with a matchless exaltation, filled with song like the meadow fair, neath the dawning sun's gracious rays. Though my words be sincere intention, may they light upon my true love's ear, like the songbird's hymn to the day.
Where we've really, I think, actually served the community so far is through our local history work. So I'm really interested in archiving as well as having physical books. So we've done an oral history project, and we've collected photos from the community documenting Irish arts in the Twin Cities. And I think that's really where we've had the biggest impact in our first 5 years, is this kind of really meaningful outreach to the community and celebrating the history of the community. Now, what we've done just from the ground up was we got another grant from the Minnesota Historical Society to do an oral history project where Dahi Sproul, the incredible local musician from Derry, went around town and interviewed some of the people that were involved in the revival here in the late 70s. And that is a real jewel, I think, in our archival collection. So we have the audio and transcripts, and then a lot of photos that people brought in around that. And that was the seed then for adding more photos. We've done a lot of collecting of photos from the dance community here, the early 80s, late 70s dance community in the Twin Cities, as well as the history of the Irish Fair, going back to the first fair in 1980. And I'm really passionate about that stuff, and it really, it's easier than a physical book to make a direct connection to someone if you find a photo of somebody that they remember that's important to them, and I love those connections.
Hi, my name is Dahi Sproul, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the oral history project that was done for the Owen Mckiernan Library with a grant from the Minnesota Historical Society. And the way I would look at the project is that for many years, even in Ireland, back in Ireland, I was thinking that there hadn't been enough work done giving musicians and dancers and people involved in traditional culture enough opportunity to talk comfortably and at length about their lives and their art forms. And in the case of, when I used to think of it in Ireland, of course, part of the issue was that elders were not interviewed until it was too late. They were gone, and we'd lost all that history. So anyhow, to move along to my time in Minnesota, when I first came here 40 years ago, or more, a bit more, 40 years ago, for a visit the first time to play music, there was already a vibrant scene here in the Twin Cities, people playing Irish traditional music at a great level, and also a very active dance scene. It was very impressive and wonderful, and that had a lot to do with me settling happily in the Twin Cities. And so the idea in recent years then was, well, maybe we should give the people who were involved, the crucial people, the people who were involved in the early period, an opportunity to tell their stories. And this was something Brian Miller was also very interested in. And so we talked about it for a while, and eventually he applied for a grant and we got going. And we assembled a list of 13 people who we knew were important to the history of traditional music and dance in the Twin Cities. And we got a nice recorder and a mic, and we assembled our list, and every now and again the both of us, or just me, myself, would get together in a comfortable setting and talk at length. Often the conversations were 2 or 3 hours. And the story, as far as our narrators are concerned, The one with the earliest information, of course, was Martin Mccue, who is our elder statesman and our inspiration here in the Twin Cities for great traditional music. Martin came here in the 50s and from Ireland, and he's a great, wonderful accordion player. And then he hung out with the people who'd come out before him playing Irish music, and then he kept the flag flying, and he inspired next generations who came along. And so that was the story that we were assembling, as it were, through all these different conversations. And it really was wonderful. And for me, being involved with it, a tremendous gift to get to listen to everybody's story. Martin Mccue, of course, was fantastic. He almost told a minute-by-minute story of his arrival in the Twin Cities and what happened. For the first few days were brought to life in great detail. And then the people who came after them, the Tom Dahill, had wonderful stories, and then the Northern Star Katie Band, Ploughing the Stars people, and the dancers Jenny Bach and Sheila Jordan told some of the story of dance in the Twin Cities. And I did the interviews, and then I transcribed them, and that added an extra dimension to the whole business, because I appreciated even more how well they told their stories and how fascinating the whole business was. And to mention Martin again, it was like a very fine piece of writing when you just transcribed what he had said. So all this is available. All these people's stories are available online through the Celtic Junction and Owen Mckiernan Library, and it's well worth checking out. Another part of it that ended up happening was that we got photos. People contributed photos of those early years, from the 50s to about 90 was the theoretical timeline. And of course everybody was digging out their old photos, and that was fantastic. And Brian Miller assembled them and went through them, and we had an exhibition at the Junction, and then so the photos were displayed, and then we had a kind of conversation/concert with some of the people who'd been participating. But it was wonderful that evening to, before the concert happened, or before whatever that was, a concert talk show happened, people were coming in, and we had plenty of time for people to walk around and look at the photos. And there were people who didn't know this history at all. But then it was just delightful to see people who had been involved in the history going along and seeing all these old photos of them 30 and 40 years ago, and reminding them of wonderful times. But it isn't, the whole point of it is that, for me anyhow, it's not just a celebration of the past. It's a celebration of the fact that we have this continuity, that the things that were happening there then were enriching a soil that is still very, very rich. And we're so delighted to have all these great musicians of all ages, and dancers, wonderful dance scene. And so if you have never gone and checked out the Oral History Project online, I'd strongly recommend it. So those are just a few words to introduce you to the whole thing, and I hope you check it out and enjoy it. All the best.
That oral history project that Dahi was just talking about is one of the projects I'm most proud of from the last 5 years at the Mckiernan Library. And it was also a ton of fun, just getting out in the community, talking to musicians and singers, And for me, it's just fun to understand local history more deeply. And I learned so much through the stories that people told during that project. I'm so interested anyway in the history of Irish music in Minnesota, and I've done a bunch of research outside of my time here at the library into singing that went on up north in the logging camps. I sing a song called The Lady Elgin, and it's a fascinating song about a Great Lakes shipwreck on Lake Michigan. And I've been telling the story behind the song for years, but I just pulled a couple books off the shelf here from the library today, and I learned more. So we have a beautiful book here, the Field Journals of a folklorist named Ivan Walton that spent a bunch of time on Beaver Island, where there's this kind of amazing Irish community in the northern waters of Lake Michigan. And one of the singers there, Dominic Gallagher, told him that the ship that crashed into the Lady Elgin was haunted, and that he had sailed on the Great Lakes on this ghost ship, and every time it went out, somebody would perish. We have another book called The History of the Irish in Wisconsin in the 19th Century. A few pages in there about the Lady Elgin let you go a little bit deeper into sort of the messy politics in Milwaukee that were behind the trip to begin with. So right there, even for me, having sung that song for years, there's so much here in the library that allows me to go deeper into it and understand more of the history. 1, 2, 3, 1.
Lost on the Lady Elgin, sleeping to Julia Rogers. I'm the president of the Irish Music and Dance Association, and we are a nonprofit focused on promoting and celebrating Irish cultural traditions. We have a couple of events throughout the year. For our IMDA Honors event 2019, we were able to partner with the Mcciernan Library to bring photos to our event. And it was really wonderful to have this rich history captured. And the photos were throughout the room. People got to stop and talk about events they were at, or just really reminisce about the wonderful history and the culture that we're here. Which was just a really great layer to add to an already great event.
Hello everyone, my name is Mary Mccue, and I was a member of the Mccue and Mccue dancers for about 10 years. And in 1980 we went to Ireland to collect set dancers. It was one night in Ennis while we were learning the clarinet that I got really dizzy, so I stepped out of the group and went to lean against a wall to recover. And as I was watching the dancers that were so wholeheartedly engaged with each other, I realized that bringing the two groups together, we really belong to something way bigger than all of us. So then years later, we heard that when there was greater interest in the clarinet because those Yanks from Minnesota had traveled so far to learn the dance. Now today, the Celtic network of connection continues its really vibrant life at the Celtic Junction and the Owen Mckiernan Library in Twin Cities. For example, there was a celebratory evening for the Oral History Project that included an exhibition of archival photos from the Owen Mckiernan Library. And that evening there was a feeling of such warmth and appreciation for our shared history that just permeated the room as we revisited those really exuberant times when we forged so much friendship through the Irish Music and Dance. When the Irish Music and Dance Association invited me to be part of their honors program, my first thought was, what are they thinking? I haven't danced in 30 years. But again, with my co-honorees, Jenny Bach and Sheila Jordan, we had a really another jolly evening with additional photos from the library's growing collection. The Celtic Junction and the Owen Mckiernan Library are really phenomenal resources for Irish music, dance, and language, and local Irish history, and cities Irish history. So with both financial and volunteer support, may they live long and always prosper.
So you'd mentioned the music and the archival part of the library. Tell us a little bit more about the collection.
Yeah, the archival collection, that just basically started from scratch. There were a few archival materials that came with the big pile of boxes that came from the Mckiernan family. And we're actually just kind of getting to those now, and they're quite exciting. So one piece that came from the Mckiernans were the master tapes for Owen's television programs that he produced in the early 60s when he first had arrived in Minnesota. So he had two shows that ran on public television. They were recorded just right up on Como Avenue at the early public TV studio there. And the first was called Ireland Revisited, and the second was called Irish Diary. And I think there were something around 50 episodes between the two shows. But they were really revolutionary, again, for kind of promoting this more multidimensional vision of Ireland and modern Ireland and Irish history that kind of maybe broke Americans out of their Danny boy comfort zone. So we have those master tapes, and we have actually just got word this week that they're completed being digitized. So we wrote a grant to the Minnesota Historical Society to get money to digitize them and preserve them, and we've succeeded with that.
How would you like to see the library continue to grow?
Well, I would love us, with the space and with the physical collection, to really define our collection areas. So the two that are sort of emerging are Irish music, which wouldn't be a focus for the St. Thomas collection, nor the Minnesota Historical Society. That's really something that I think could be unique to us here in Minnesota, in this room. And it serves, obviously, the community that's in the building. It's also, of course, my own passion, so I'm biased. And then the other obvious collection area is Irish language. So Owen Mckiernan was way ahead of his time, especially as somebody born in America, in recognizing the importance of preserving, reviving, celebrating the Irish language. And he really committed much of his life to that. So his collection reflects that, and there were all these really actually quite rare Irish language books in his collection. And then as it's worked out, we have this incredible teacher from Connemara, Lavinia Finnerty, that teaches for the Irish College. And so we have this strength in this Irish language area, which really is a niche and kind of unusual. So we've been collecting quite a few Irish language books, and they're rare and they're hard to come by. And they're definitely off the beaten path, but we have a great community of Irish language learners here in the Twin Cities, and we're trying to support those two areas. So I'd love to see those two areas grow. I'd love us to have more audio. We have already a great, like really kind of uniquely wonderful collection of Irish traditional music, recorded music. We have a partnership now with Gael Lynn Records, one of the great Irish music record labels in Ireland, and also a huge promoter of Irish language. And they sent us this, you were involved with cataloging it, but a big swath of their back catalog. I think we have maybe like 70% of the full Gael Lynn catalog now, which is amazing.
So you'd mentioned digitizing Owen Mckiernan's video stuff, which makes me think of digitization in general. What are the prospects of the library going online? Is that a pie in the sky, or is that something you hope to accomplish someday?
Yeah, we're already online. I mean, we're just not. I mean, the way that works is it really separates the physical collection from your archival collection, right? Because we're not going to go through and digitize all these books. In all likelihood, Google has already done that, and we'll let them have that legal fight. But we are putting more stuff online on our website, which is part of the Celtic Junction website. If you go there, and our logo is the red phoenix, the bird, and click on the bird and go to the library part of the site, and we have our oral history project online. We have an archive of concert recordings from the Traditional Singers Club. We have a photo archive of the community. We have all the past posters and programs from the Irish Fair. Those are all digitized, all online and searchable, as well as a fascinating collection of a family of Irish American musicians that grew up on Cedar Lake, south of the Twin Cities, and then lived over by St. Mark's. The Doherty family, we just put that up recently, and they're these home recordings from the 50s of them playing Irish traditional music and Scandinavian waltzes in their living room at home. So we've been putting quite a bit of stuff online. It's just, I think maybe in the Google age, there's an assumption that maybe everything goes online, but the books are here. And the books, like I said, I mean, some of the books are accessible online. Some of them have been digitized, but that's not our project. Our project is collecting the physical items so that you can physically come in and look at them. And then separately, we have this archival mission where we're putting things online. And that's, if you go to our website, there's loads there already, and hopefully a lot more to come.
Well, that's great. Well, you've talked a little bit about your hopes to grow the library and expand the collection, both music and digital. Tell us a little bit about how our donors' contributions are going to avail that up.
So we exist like most libraries, completely because of donors and grant support. There's no charge to come in the door of the library, and really we completely rely on donors. So we've only recently, because of generous donations, had a budget to purchase books. So if we want a book, like there's a symposium happening soon on Frederick Douglass, incredible historical figure from America who actually spent time in Ireland, on his time in Ireland and what effect that might have had on his viewpoint. And so we were able, with having a book budget, to buy, there's a nice book that's written about Frederick Douglass's time in Ireland. There are other issues that come up or other topics. I did a class recently through the Center for Irish Music on Chief O'Neill, great tune collector, Irish music collector that was also chief of police in Chicago, and the library was able to buy a book. So we're able to buy books that support things that are going on in the community. Donations also just fund my position. I'm employed to be here, and there's really no income stream other than the community support that allows that to be so. So I'm just I'm so thankful that people have stepped up and put up the money to have the library be here. It also buys equipment for us, the scanners that allow us to scan people's photos that they bring in, and the computers that we have available during normal times. We try to have a subscription to Ancestry.com, so another group that we try to serve are people doing genealogy. So all these things cost money, and support is so welcome and just amazing. It's been amazing so far. Back in 2010, the great character and ballroom player and singer Martine de Kogan was living in Rochester, Minnesota, and we were playing together quite a bit, and Martine wanted to make a live album here at the Celtic Junction, which we ended up doing. As part of that, we were going to do a set of tunes with Nathan Gorley and Nora Rendell playing fiddle and flute, and Martine asked me, what if we found some tunes that all were named after places in Cork? So I got out O'Neill's book, which a lot of people would have this at home that play Irish music. We have it here at the library, and just went through the table of contents really and found 3 reels that all had Cork names. Of course, Chief O'Neill that put the book together, chief of police in Chicago around 1900. He was from West Cork. Here's that set of tunes from our concert with Martine that was put out on the album.